All right. I'm gonna go ahead, oh, I gotta put it up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and get started standing up. Probably won't stay standing terribly long. Do some little bit of flow and then go from there. Yeah, okay, cool. If you have a block or anything that is anywhere similar to a block, you can go ahead and grab it and have it handy. We will often use a block during the class at varying points in time. You might want to use it very often, depending on how much range of motion you have coming into this. So take a second, you're gonna rock around in your stance, shift forward into the ball of your foot, maybe lift your heels up. See how little you can lift your heels up while taking the weight out of your heels. And then shift your weight backward into your heels. How far can you go without losing your balance? And while you're there, spread all 10 toes wide and then put each toe down individually. Screw your feet into the ground so that you can feel your thigh bones rolling from the inside to the outside a little bit. Engage your glutes. Turn on your core a little bit, not a lot. Still want there to be room to breathe deeply. And you can drop your hands by your sides. Stretch your fingertips down and lift the top of your head up at the same time. Hold that equal and opposite tension as you breathe. On your next breath in, reach both of your arms up overhead, best as you can, and shift your gaze up between your hands. You can drop your head back and open up your throat if that feels good. You can bring your palms together if that feels good. On your exhale, gather your hands up to your heart and lean into your thumb tips as you push your hips back and bring your upper body forward, then deeply bend your knees and let your head hang for forward fold. The deeper you bend your knees, the easier it is to access some of the length in your hamstrings without them being at their end range. So put a generous bend in your knees and get as much of your abdomen onto your legs, or if you need space between your legs as possible. Both of those are fine at this point. Most of the time they're fine at all points, unless I said otherwise for a specific reason, then I would just let you know. Keep your belly in touch with your legs. Lift your shoulders and your head up so that now your spine is in a straight line. That's your half lift. Take a breath in there. Spread your mat apart with your heels. On your exhale, bend a little deeper at your knees, round your spine. That's your forward fold. So your forward fold is rounded if needed. Eventually, your legs will be all the way straight. Your half lift, you just bring your chest and head up. So half lift, bring your chest, your head up so your spine is straight. Take a breath in here. Forward fold is your exhale. Half lift, breathe in. Plant your hands down to the ground and step your feet back for plank pose. Plank can be plank with your toes tucked under, your hands underneath your shoulders, a nice rounded chest, or rounded upper back and lifted chest, or you can totally go knees down table or knees behind you, all of the same scooped tailbone, lifted chest as a full plank. So really, you can find your level as needed. On your next exhale, slowly bend your elbows, drop your knees, do whatever you need to get down to the ground without creating any discomfort in your shoulders. Your hands are gonna have landed more or less underneath your shoulders. Keep them there. Hug your elbows in close to your body and roll your shoulders onto your back. Then engage your hips down into the ground, zip your legs up and engage your legs into each other to lift your upper body up for cobra. Your upper body is just your upper body. We're talking chest, neck, and head. As your legs get more active, it will be easier to lift up more. But the lifting comes from the activity of your legs and your upper back. So if you're feeling this a lot in your lower back, then back off of it a bit. Take one more breath in. On your breath out, use your hands to press back to child pose. You can have your knees together or knees wide. This is a place people can often use their blocks between their hips to sit back to if knees don't want to close all the way. Or if your hips are tight, you might want a block underneath your head. If you don't need a block, don't use a block. If you want a block to amplify, you can put both of your hands on your block out in front of you and let your head fall down between your arms. Good, come on up. Plant your hands down to the ground. If they were somewhere else like the block, hands go underneath your shoulder or shoulder width distance, then lift your hips up, downward facing dog. You can have as short or as wide of a down dog as possible, as long as you are shifting your chest back toward your legs and engaging the muscles of your hip crease and get as long as you can through the outside of your arms. Slowly breathe. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step yourself up between your hands. That's another place people can often use a block so that they can get their half lift and make a little more space in the hip crease before then bending their knees to fold. So if that's you, go for it. Slowly roll yourself up to stand. When you get to the top, reach both of your arms up toward the ceiling. On your exhale, you'll draw your elbows down in line with your shoulders. Push your chest forward and dip your fingertips backward. So bottom of your arms and chest forward, fingertips back, cactus your arms. You can engage your glutes a little bit and turn it into more of a back bend, or you can stay more or less stacked up and just keep it in your shoulders, up to you. Inhale, lift up to the top with both arms. Exhale your hands to your heart. Push your hips back. Then bend your knees to forward fold. Tuck your chin more than you think to get a nice, congruous, rounded spine that incorporates your neck Half lift, inhale. Again, that's just your chest, head and neck coming up. Then plant your hands to the ground, step back to plank or your version of plank, whatever that happens to be. Slow your breathing down. Take one more big breath in. Exhale, slowly lower, all the way down to your belly. This time, slide your elbows underneath your shoulders so that your forearms are on the ground. Sphinx pose. You're still going to engage your legs, right? So from relaxed to a squeeze, butt squeeze, quads down, hips down, and your upper body comes up. So that's Sphinx pose. We're just going to leave it like that for now for another breath or two. You can move your head and neck around to examine where you might get a little bit more out of that shape. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to shift it a little bit. Keep the upper body set up so that your forearms are where you're weighted down. Your elbows are where you're weighted down. You're going to keep your knees as a point of contact between yourself and the ground. And then you're going to lift your hips up off of the ground and round your spine like plank pose so that it's kind of like a very sawed off forearm plank. Because it is so sawed off, you're going to feel it a whole lot in your transverse abdominis. So just breathe very slowly. The slower you breathe, the easier it is to engage your deep core. And hips down, lift your chest up. You'll feel those same muscles that you were just working, stretching a little bit. Engage your legs to protect your low back. Take a big breath in, and on your exhale, rock your hips back, child's pose. Do it how it feels best to you. We'll be here for 3 breaths. And lift on up to downward facing dog. Inhale, shift your gaze forward, step between your hands, fold forward over your legs, and we'll go through Sun Sal A one more time, a little bit faster. Slowly roll yourself up to stand. Reach both of your arms up overhead. You can take cactus arms again if that was working for you. If you like to have your hands together up toward the ceiling better, go for that option. Either version to open up your heart area. Heart, we're just talking T-spine basically, and throat a little bit, rather than this being a back bend that incorporates your low back a whole lot. Inhale up to the top. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant your hands, step to plank pose, hold and breathe. Plank, fill up. Exhale, slowly lower. We'll just go cobra this time, so legs down to the ground and engage. Roll your shoulders on your back and hug your elbows in tight to your body to lift up. And exhale, press back, child's pose. This time in child's pose, walk your hands both to the right and stack your left hand on top of your right hand. Let your head drop down between your arms. If your left hip is coming away from your heel, stretch it back toward your heel. Even if it's not touching your heel, sort of that opposite directionality from your left hand will facilitate a stretch along your left side. Maybe it will be just in one specific area of your left side, or it might be generalized along your left side. There's not one right or wrong, it's just what you need. Take another breath in. On your exhale, move through center. Repeat this now with both of your hands to the left and your right hand on top. Your head goes down to whatever extent you can get it to go down. And your right hip keeps reaching back for your right heel if it's not fully anchored down. Good. Come on back to the middle. Roll yourself up, tabletop position. Extend your right leg back with your toes tucked underneath you and your left arm straight forward with your thumb up toward the ceiling. Engage your right leg. Keep your left arm where it is and lift your right leg up. Your pinky toe might want to dial out to the right. Make sure it is pointed straight down and you're not going into a back bend here. Just keep it nice and neutral. Take a big breath in. Keep the tension. Tap your right toes down. Lift your right toes up, down, and up, down. One more time, and up. Keep the tension. Put your left hand down. Bend your right knee. Kick your right heel higher and feel your hamstring turn on. If you want even more, you can pull your heel toward your butt and lift your head like you're going to touch your heel and your head together behind you. One more breath in. On your exhale, round, knee to nose underneath you, or knee to whatever it's going to touch underneath you. Extend back on your inhale, look forward. Exhale, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Spread your toes wide, root down through the base of your big toe and your heel. Your hands are right here to the inside. And you can see, right, I'm gonna squeeze my leg into my arm on purpose. Keep that engagement. From there, with your hands underneath your shoulders, look up, breathe in like cow pose. Exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under like cat. Cow, breathe in. Cat, breathe out. Bring your spine to neutral and heel toe your right leg in front of your hip. So it was wide, now you're gonna bring it a little bit to the left so that it's straight in front. Bring your hands up to the top of your right leg. Now you're gonna press down and stabilize yourself. Right now, my left knee is not very far behind my left hip. So I'm not getting much of a stretch. I can increase the stretch by leaning back more, but that's gonna put a lot on just my back. I can adjust by putting my knee back behind my hip more, and I will get more out of it without doing really anything else. So maybe you can try that and then just let your head hang and get more into the front of your left hip. Or if you need more of a back bend, you can double it up. Left knee back more, bring your hands up to your right knee and start to take more of a back bend. You're going to want to squeeze the muscles in the outside of your left hip to help stabilize you. If you're down, lower. Come on up, reach both of your arms up and keep pressing through your right heel as you do that. And then exhale, hook your left hand to the outside of your right leg and open your right arm back behind you for a twist. Notice that my arm is pretty much up in line with the top of my shoulder. This twist is happening from my ribs and up. One more breath in. On your exhale, you're going to pivot. I'll pivot toward you. You're going to pivot to your left. So pivot to your left, right, so that you're sitting on your left heel and you're inside of your right leg. And I'm just going to turn around and face you guys so that we're in the same direction. So you're sitting as low as you can. You can always grab a block to sit on if kneeling is hard for you. You can take some of the weight out of it. If you're very tight in your ankles, you might be somewhat limited. So do what you need to do, but you're in this much deeper squat here, and I want you to play around with that. You can grab, keep the foot tacked down, and feel what it feels like to open your knee up a little bit. You can squeeze your leg into your body like you were doing before and open up a twist in the opposite direction you were just in. You can go low with it, drop your head down and get more hip flexion. If you have a bind, you can go right arm out to the right, thumb down, internally rotate around the outside of your right leg and then behind your back. Wherever you were, you're going to come on back up with it, and then we're going to rotate. Well, y'all are going to rotate to the right, back to the front. So quarter turn to your right so that you're back in your lunge. Slide your left leg back, and then roll to the outside of your left leg and let your right knee fall open so that you're in a bit of a twist to the right, corkscrew style, so that you're not straight down on this knee. If you're straight down on this knee and then you try to twist open, it won't feel good. You gotta get to the IT band side a little bit. This, I'm doing a bad here. You can see how my ankle is rounding. That's too much stress. So what I need to do here is I need to flex my ankle to turn open a little bit better. Generally speaking, the more active this bottom leg is, the more integrated the stretch will be along this entire left side. So play around with how far you take it to get the desired intensity. Okay, bring it back to the front, uncorkscrew yourself, and then notice how my body is low in relation to my thigh. I'm going to keep that lowness as I sit my hip backward. You might hit a limit of hamstring mobility long before me, right? If that's the case, honor it. You can always grab a block to make it easier to be wherever it is that you land. You can even put your head on the block instead of your hands on the block. There's lots of different ways to use your block. You can also, in a half split, because that's really where we're working toward, grab a block and stick it in the part of your hamstring that is the tightest. And then it's much easier to just chill here. You can work the back leg a little bit more intentionally. Square it down a little bit better. Take the body down, release the hamstring better. So this is just like a lot of ways to use blocks. Outside of the traditional mentality that, you need to do it to scale it down. Half split is relative. A traditional starting point like based on not knowing anybody, would be your spine is straight, your legs at 90-degree angles at the ankle and at the sort of 180 through the knee-ish, and maybe all the way up to a 90 at the hip, so that you can tilt your pelvis and get your hamstring up at the top. But half split is actually relative, so if you have closer to a full split, then your half split's going to be, it's going to look more like a full split. We're going to take it, quarter turn back to the left, slide your right leg long, and you can adjust, right? You can be not very long, which will put your left hip more or less under your left knee, and then you can drop your upper body down. You're working a stretch somewhere in the inner thigh or whole groin area, wherever you need it. The further apart you go, the more intense that's going to be. So if you keep sliding that right leg out, it's going to get intense pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and turn it around so that I'm facing y'all. You can stay on your hands up higher, or you can drop down to your forearms. You can keep your tailbone somewhat tucked, or you can go back and forth between a cow and cat spine and see how that changes the shape for you. There's lots of different ways that you can explore your particular nooks and crannies. And this would be like a half middle split. Bring your hands underneath you and slowly come on in. Now, we're going to do all of that again on the other side, and I'm going to take just a moment to say that if you skew very bendy, hypermobile to begin with, then you're going to want to modify these shapes to where you're actually feeling the musculature support the shape more so than necessarily maxing out the end range shape, what it looks like, right? So a lot of times people, we're going to slowly bring it back around to face the front, sit back, child's pose. But basically, it's not beyond the scope of some people's ability to get into their joints and never feel a muscle turn on. So if that happens to be you, you're going to stop way conservatively before you get to what the end shape theoretically looks like. You're going to try to turn muscles on, muscles that I'm talking about along the way. All right, so now it's time to do the other side. So come on up to tabletop position, hands underneath your shoulders and knees underneath your hips. You're going to slide your left leg straight back with your toes tucked underneath you. You're going to send your right arm straight forward with your thumb up toward the ceiling, and then lift both of them up. You're conservative with how high you go with your left leg because you want it to be neutral and you want it to be engaged. Lots of tension in the shape. Take a big breath in. On your exhale, keep the tension as you tap your left toes down, then lift up. Slowly tap down and lift up. Tap down, lift up. Keep the tension there as you drop your right hand down. Keep the neutrality of your left leg, but bend your left knee and then lift your leg up. Lift your leg up, just straight up, or lift up and pull your heel into your butt more, and also lift your head up like you're going to touch your foot and head behind you. On your exhale, round your knee into your chest, hollow out as much as possible, curve your spine as much as possible, head to knee-ish. Extend back on your inhale, look forward, and exhale, step your left foot to the outside of your left hand, both hands underneath your shoulders. You're going to squeeze your leg into your outer arm, and then cow pose on your inhale, look up, sway your back on your exhale, curve under and tuck for cat, Couple more times. Good. Bring it to neutral. And then you're going to heel toe your left foot directly in front of your left hip. Bring your hands to the top of your left thigh. Squeeze your right outer hip and lean back, or right leg back and just hang, or right leg back and bring your hands up to your knee and lean back. Again, outer hip on, weight in your heel, left hip crease is very active. If you're down, you're going to lift your arms up. If you're back, you're going to slowly stack your spine up so that both arms are up on your inhale, and then on your exhale, you'll take your right hand and catch a hold of your left leg. Stay braced so that you can twist from your ribs as you send your left arm, back behind you. One more breath in, and then on your exhale, your quarter turn to your right. Sit down to your right heel. You're going to have your body to the inside of your left leg, and you're exploring this squat shape. So maybe twisting opposite the direction you just did. Maybe you're playing around with opening your knee. Maybe you're going forward, or maybe you're binding around your left leg. And maybe there's an animal out on my porch eating some kitty food. What animal is it? It's the possum. It's the possum, guys. It's the possum. The possum's name is Sweet Potato Jr. All right, we're gonna rotate back to the left into that corkscrew twist. So you'll be able to see the back leg on this side. When I get back forward, I'm not gonna go kneecap down. I'm gonna roll to the outside. Then open up to the left. All right, slowly bring it back around, and then stay low in relation to your left leg as you send your hips backward toward your version of a half split. I'm going to grab my block and stick it under my hamstring again, because my half split is going to go more toward for all the way split with support. All right, bring your upper body a little bit up so that you have more control, and you're going to quarter turn back to the right. Your left leg is going to be as far out as you want it to be. Your body's going to be in the middle between your legs, and then you can be up or lower with any kind of support that you need in order to comfortably hang out in a probably fairly uncomfortable shape for a few breaths.
Again, if you do skew looser, right, you're wanting to feel the muscle, the quad muscle on that left leg, turn on to support the hamstring, or sorry, the inner thighs. Got these that adductor complex that you want to make sure is plugged in appropriately, even though it is stretching. If you are down to your forearms, come back up to your hands and sit back, back, back until you sit beyond your right foot, hips to the ground, left leg long, right foot tucked in. Turn your belly button over your left leg, reach for your left leg. If you don't reach your left leg, or your foot rather, grab somewhere on your leg, lift up and hinge, and then hang out. Now, if that's not happening because you're rounded back here, then let your head go and keep letting your head go in the shape. So there's two ways to approach it. Straight backed, right? And then you keep sort of radiating the sternum forward. Or the straight back's not happening, in which case you let the rounding happen and you just continue to let go, continue to let go. Ideally, if you have a block and you're nowhere near your own leg as a support, you stick your block underneath your head and just remove the prop as you're able to. Now, if you're straighter in the shape, another thing you do is you tilt your butt back like cow pose. So you put yourself in more of a back bend, and that's gonna put more stretch in your hamstring, especially up at the top of your hamstring. But another place people will feel this shape is in the right side low back. You're gonna feel more of that if you work on the torso position over the hamstring stretch. So you let your body go as best as you can, and that might just do it for you. Or if you find that you're kind of lifted up on the right side, the more you square down, the more you'll get that back stretch. Bring your upper body up, lean to the left, kick your right leg long, bring your left foot in, lift your chest up, square over your right leg, and repeat. Either you're going long, and you're putting a little bit of cow spine, and you're finding the top of your hamstring, and you're simmering with it, or you're letting that head go, ideally supporting it along the way. Or you're just focusing on what's happening in your torso. Lift your upper body up. Take your left leg, lead with the knee to the left, and then bend your right leg behind you. Lift your chest and point your belly button forward toward the top of your mat, then twist to the left. Meow, meow. Give in, just lay down. Just lay down, no scratchies. Take both of your hands to the outside of your left leg, and I want you to roll this right thigh forward when you do for the twist. And then we're going to go to the right, flip-flop your legs to the other side. Take both of your hands to the right and internally rotate your left leg when you do. Good. Come back to the middle, feet together, knees out. Hold your feet, and you can stay upright. You can grab a block and put it on your feet and round down. You can round down without the block. And when you do that, you can play around with where your feet are. This would be, let's see, this is about like arm out in front of me. That would be kind of a long diamond. Some people can have their feet heels all the way in and knees down, right? So somewhere in between, I like long. It works better for the shape of my hip capsule. And that's something that if you're doing this, right, if you're following along, I'm not going to give you too much more instruction because I want you to very carefully figure out what feels the best for you. If you start getting pinching in the inner corner of your hip or something sliding around and it doesn't feel supported, that's not a good shape for you, right? So because I'm not seeing what your bodies are doing with my eyeballs, there's a good chance that you're going to be doing some, like your intuition's going to guide you better, right? Than if you were here and your body was right in front of me, I might see something and be able to guide you better, right? But eventually your intuition is still going to end up superseding even my external guidance, right? So we're working towards that. Okay, slowly roll on up. Slide your legs out long. Cross your right leg over your left leg and then grab behind your knees and tent them up a little bit. Grab something, anything. I've got a block, but I also have this like bolster, right? I could easily use this as well. So find something that works for you. Slide it under your leg so that there is a little bit of a bend in your knee on purpose. And then we're gonna go forward over that bent knee. Your legs are gonna stay kind of bent as you fold forward over your legs. This is gonna stretch your top leg, your right leg, up the outside of the leg to one degree or another, depending on how tight you are. The more you flex instead of point the right ankle, the more that will also be the case. The more you can get your head down, the more that will be the case. Slowly release, come on up. Let's go. Slide the block out underneath, and then take this top knee and bend it so that the foot is over by your hip. Again, this leg is just straight on the ground, but I have my prop still available. I'm gonna stick it on my knee and then fold down. And now, even though all I did was just change the top leg, the stretch is in the bottom leg. You can always use your hands to take up the gap too, so if you don't have anything else available, or if the things that you have aren't the right size, maybe your hands will do the trick. Come on up, extend your right leg long, Cross your left ankle over, grab behind your knees, stick your prop underneath your knees, flex your left ankle, and fold. Come on up, remove the block from underneath your knees, bend your left knee so that your foot ends up to the outside of your hip, your knee is down, right? And then you're gonna grab your block and hang out. And come on up. We're gonna go wide-legged forward fold. So, legs wide. Don't go to your 100% maximum. Go to like 75-ish. And then you're gonna focus on cow. Find cow. Now, if you can't find cow and you're stuck in cat pose, best thing you could probably do is turn around and put your back against a wall and then keep shimmying back against the wall and then just let your head go forward and then shimmy back some more and then let your head go forward. And that's the back support will allow your head to go forward easier. Eventually you'll be able to prop it up with something. If you're far enough forward that you can prop it up with something already, then do. If you can find cow spine, get there so that you're using your hip crease muscles, stretch it as far forward as you can, and then when you can't go any further, support your head, same. At whatever level that happens to be, all the way down to the ground. If you feel like you've relaxed a little bit since you first landed, you can take your hands behind you and scoot your hips forward to help your legs open up wider. If you are at all in the hypermobile camp, I would not recommend going that way. Slowly come back up and lay on your back. I'm going to kind of finish out that little series of outer leg things that we were doing on your back. Ideally, you have something as an option to support the back of your head. Maybe you don't need it, but in case you do, back of the head, right? So that your neck isn't craning and straining. So that, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and just put the block there. I can do it without, but just put it there for the heck of it. All right, you're gonna pull your left leg in somewhat. You're gonna take your right leg and cross it all the way over, not figure four, all the way over, right? So that this heel's down, heel to butt almost. Grab your right ankle with your left hand, grab your left knee with your right hand and pull both legs into your chest. If you don't need the block, don't use the block. If this is fine, but you want more outer hip stretch, then grab both ankles and pull both feet down to your hips and both thighs into your chest, neck long. If you want even more than that, you grab your feet, keep the squeeze of your inner thighs, and bring your feet up, but keep your thighs in close to your chest. Okay, so hands off. Now slide it into a figure four so that your right ankle is over your left leg. You can grab behind your left leg and pull your legs in. You can close your left knee to your butt and grab your left shin and pull both legs in. But this gap between both of your legs and your chest, you're closing it. Theoretically, anyways. Release your hands. Take your left hand to your right ankle. Hold your right ankle. The bottom of your right foot is free, it's flat. You're going to roll your hips to the left until your foot is flat on the ground. It's the same shape, but now you've dropped it over to the left. You're going to take your hand and you're going to keep it there, or you're going to open you're not going to push on your knee, you're going to push on your thigh. If your knee is collapsing, you'll open it to stack your knee back up over your ankle, or you can hold up the ankle and open the knee with your muscular activity, and then right arm over to the right, look to the right, twist. All right. However you need to, you're going to bring it back. Bend your right leg a little, take your left leg, cross your left thigh over, take your right hand and grab your ankle. Take your left hand, grab your shin. Pull both of your legs into your chest. Maybe that's enough. Maybe you want to grab both ankles, both heels to butt, both thighs to chest. Maybe you want to grab both of your feet. Good, release, turn it into figure four. Slide it so that your left ankle is over your right knee. Take your hands through, grab behind your right leg, or grab over your right shin, and let both of your knees come on into your chest, both of your thighs. Set it up for the figure four twist. Hands free. You're going to hold your left ankle with your right hand. The bottom of your foot is flat and available, and you're going to shimmy over, drop your legs to the right until the flat of your left foot touches the ground. You're still holding the ankle with your right hand. Your left arm is going to drop toward a twist to the left. Come on back. Let's see. Yep. Release your left leg, hug your knees in toward each other. Wrap your arms around both of your legs. Lift your head up to your knees and hold everything in tight. And then lay yourself out and try to relax as much as possible for Shavasana. You're welcome to use a block for a pillow. I like to do that. Hi, Siri. In the next breath or two, you can bring a little movement back in. Maybe roll your ankles, let your legs fall a little side to side, let your head fall a little side to side. You can roll to one side or the other, or you can come on up after a good morning stretch, whichever works best for you. And once you're up to a comfortable seat, take a moment to reflect on your practice. Notice something, anything that you can take away as a positive. And the rest of it is done. Your practice is done. So we'll close it all out with a Cleansing breath. Breathe in through your nose, hold it in at the top. Open your mouth. Let it all go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll see you in the den.